Hi guys, it's Heidi from Create Dream Explore, and I'm here to talk about my digital reader's notebook today. So in my class I use reader's notebooks, and in the past I've done them in a regular paper notebook, and each week students have to complete one task in their reader's notebook. They can do it based on a book they read that day or one they've been reading all along. So some of the tasks will be things like write a letter to your teacher about your book, or write a letter to the author, or you fill out some sticky notes with connections you made during your reading and stick them into your reader's notebook. There might be some visualization happening, or some comprehension questions that I've asked them to respond to. And some days it's just free write what you're thinking about while you're reading your book. So the purpose of the reader's notebook is to bring in some metacognition, to make sure they're thinking while they're reading and documenting those ideas. And then another purpose of the reader's notebook is to provide an activity for students to work on while I meet with my small groups for guided reading. So I use reader's notebook as a station. I've got like a technology Raz Kids kind of station. I have just a read to self station. I have a word workstation, and then one of them, the stations, is the reader's notebook. So let me go ahead and show you what the reader's notebook looks like. Okay, so when you download the resource, you'll get a file, and on one of the pages you'll see these links here. So I have a reader's notebook master copy. This copy I put into my Google Drive, and then I make a copy of that, and then that copy I'll put into Google Classroom. And then here I've got a student sample. So the student sample is the one I'm going to show you so that you get an idea of what a completed reader's notebook will look like. And I also share this with students so they can also see. So I just click on the link here. Okay, so it's opening up in my Google Drive, and it automatically prompts me to make a copy. So I go over here to make a copy, and it will put that copy into my Google Drive. The reason you have to do that is because I don't want people making changes to my original copy. So this way you get your own copy, and whatever you do to it, it won't affect my original one. Okay, so here is the main cover page. I'm just going to make that a little larger. Oh, it's just loading. All right, so their first assignment is to design your reader's notebook cover page. This is something I would have had my students do on paper anyway, on their regular paper reader's notebook. So I translated it to a digital format, and they create a new slide. And I did the sample one from here. So Heidi's reader's notebook, and I included different things that I like about reading, the different genres that I like. I really tell the students to personalize it and make it about them as a reader. The second page is all about the reading, all about the reading goals. So as you can see, I've got some sample goals here for students. Find a good fit book, take a breath at the periods, try 3 ways to solve a word before asking for help. So the way I use this is that every time we conference, if they have met their goal, I make a copy of this smiley face and I add it here. Once they get 3 smiley faces, I consider their goal met and we move on to adding a new goal. So this student is currently working on try 3 ways to solve a word before asking for help. And they've done it once. And then they've already met these 2 other goals. And the nice thing about using Google Slides is that we can duplicate this page. In Google Classroom, I also add a second master copy of the reader's notebook. So students can go in and make a copy of a blank page, and then they don't have to worry about making a copy and deleting all of the items in it. So here's another page. What I like about reading, what I don't like about reading. What is true for me about reading. So these slides I have them do early on in the school year. So my students this school year have already completed all of these ones. What keeps me reading? I find these really help me get to know my students as readers, the history of me as a reader, and it also helps them to think critically about themselves as a reader. So here is a word collector page. This one, you can have, oops, where are we going? Sorry. All right, word collector. So this one, they can, if they're reading a chapter book, they might do this word collector over a few different weeks as they're reading. And then they might work on that and another page at the same time. Now, in my class before digital readers notebooks, we went through a ton of sticky notes. So I wanted to think of a way that I could replicate the sticky notes but in digital format. So I have them here on a slide. So when students are reading, they can add their thoughts the same way that they would on a sticky note here. And then when they've run out on this page, they can duplicate the page and delete what was on the slide, or go to the master copy and make a copy of the slide and paste it, a blank one, into their reader's notebook. And we do the sticky note one. I use that one probably the most often because I like to just get their thinking without a lot of prompting from me. I can really learn a lot about my students as readers. Then we've got read it a second time. Here's one with guidelines for writing a letter to your teacher about the book that you're reading. And then, so when my students would do writing a letter to the teacher in their readers' notebooks that were on paper, I would always respond to them. In Google Slides, I use the comment feature here, and then I can just add my comments in there. And I find it so much faster than when I used to have to take home 25 readers' notebooks and write responses to their letters. Now I can do a quick response to them and they get relatively quick feedback. I can even do it during our reading session. And so I find the feedback gets to my students a lot quicker than it did on paper format. I've got this cute slide here, text messages between characters, describe a character. I have a boy and a girl template, or a long hair template and a short hair template. Students can choose depending on their character. This is a fun one too. Superhero profile. Pretend one of the characters in your book is a superhero. What would their superhero name be? What is their superpower? What is their weakness? And so on. Visualizing. This is another one we do often. So I'll have them go to the master copy and make blank copies of this slide to add in so we can use it various times throughout the year. Or if we're working on a mini visualizing unit, then we'll usually do this 3 or 4 times in a row. So as you can see, I've included these little type here boxes so that students know where they can type. Here's another visualizing slide. They think about their reading, lean in for a closer look, describe what you see in your mind that the author didn't write in the story. So they're essentially writing a descriptive paragraph of the things that they imagined. We've got some making connections. In the text, I read this, and it reminded me of, and that helps me to understand. So kind of a basic graphic organizer, but it's in digital format. Another, making connections, but make a collage. Think about the story that you're reading. What does it remind you of? Make a text-to-text, text-to-self, or text-to-world connection and write about it. Here, you can add images as well. So this one's started, it's not finished. Some asking questions. I've got another one here for questions I have about my book. I love that with the digital reader's notebook, I can make them nice and colorful and fun. It's a little more motivating for the students, but still pretty open-ended. I've got a summarizing page for when you're working on summarizing. Tell me 5 things, the 5 most important things about what you've read so far in your book. Another summarizing page. Plot outline. So you can see a lot of these can be used for over and over again for whatever book the students are reading. Sometimes I assign a certain page, and then other times I let them pick whichever they want depending on what type of book they're reading. For example, we've got some nonfiction book activities. I know a lot of my students love nonfiction books, so I've got a KWL chart in there. Asking questions, but for nonfiction, so it looks a little bit different. Text features, and that is all that I've included so far. Now, this is a growing notebook, so as I decide to add more slides to it, if you purchase it, you get whatever updates that I've made to it. You just have to go in and make a new copy of the updated resource. So that's my reader's notebook. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments below. I'm happy to answer any questions about it. You do need to have Google Drive, Google accounts to use a digital resource like this with your students. But if you don't, then just use a regular paper notebook and go ahead and use some of the same ideas and have your students write in those. It really is a great assessment tool for checking out how your students are comprehending their books. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you later.